Welcome to Knowledgeable Aging. I'm your host, Jason Kotar. Joining us today to talk about living happier and healthier with virtual reality is Carleigh Berryman. As the CEO of Viva Vita, Carleigh wants to bring virtual reality to retirement communities and senior individuals for engaging experiences that promote brain health and community fellowship. In 2019, Carleigh had an idea that would catalyze a change for the mental health of seniors. She watched her grandmother, Glenda, age each year and not be able to enjoy experiences as she did before becoming a senior. One day, Glenda shared with Carleigh that she had no reason to get out of bed in the morning. Carleigh wanted to help her granny and hundreds of other grannies and grandpas improve their mental wellness and quality of life. Today, Viva Vita is made up of a youthful team of innovators and dynamic team members passionate to break through the virtual reality industry for seniors. How are you doing today, Carleigh?
I'm great, Jason. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much. I'm looking forward. Before we get started, Carleigh, a little bit of housekeeping. For those that are joining us for the live webinar, type your questions in. Time permitting, we will do everything in our power to get your questions answered. So, Carleigh, I'm going to turn it over to you. What's next? Virtual reality for seniors.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone watching for welcoming me onto your screen today. As Jason said, my name is Carleigh Berryman, and today I'll be talking about virtual reality, what it is, how we can leverage it ourselves, and what the benefits may be for our own health. Before we get into that, I just wanted to give a little bit more on my background. My name is Carleigh Berryman, and I am a lifelong senior advocate. I've always felt a strong connection with and respect for the generations that came before me. And it made me a bit of a nerdy kid, always wanting to hang out with the generations older than I was. But I've always just felt that connection. I've loved learning from them, hearing their stories. And that passion, as well as experiences with my own grandmother, led me to found Viva Vita. We're a company that brings virtual reality to seniors for better quality of life and mental wellness. I'm also an international virtual reality speaker and expert on the intersection of virtual reality and senior care. I'm a member and speaker of the International VR and Healthcare Association as well. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So what is virtual reality? The way I typically explain VR, VR being short for virtual reality, is it's kind of like watching something on your TV screen, watching TV, right? But what's different, there are a couple key differences. When you're watching TV, you're seeing it on a 2D screen, maybe hang up on your wall in front of you. Virtual reality has its own screen, but it's actually inside of a VR headset or VR goggles, like you can see this woman wearing here. And the other big difference between watching TV and putting on a VR headset is not just the change in hardware, but it's also kind of like jumping inside your TV screen. So you are now an active role in whatever program that is. And with this headset on, you're able to look all around you. There's a computer inside that generates a virtual environment. And so just like in a real environment, you're able to look all around you, up and down, and it's like you are completely somewhere else. So in the case of this woman here, she's actually diving with Sir David Attenborough. That's the gentleman in that submarine there. And they are off the coast of New Zealand in the Great Barrier Reef. And so with that headset on, she is able to look all around, up at him, and there's an ocean around her. Although in reality, she's actually probably, in her room or at her office, completely dry, of course, and just enjoying this entertainment. So there's many things that we can do with virtual reality, just like there's many things that we can do with TV. Another way of kind of thinking about it is like a Viewmaster. If you ever played with one of these as a kid, you put in the different pictures. This is kind of just taking it to an entirely new level. So some possibilities. So we can travel in virtual reality, and I have just an example of that immersive nature here. You can go all over the world, and again, so when you're in the VR headset, you can look all around you and you'd see something like this. So here we are in Paris, and the environment, it doesn't stop, it continues as you move around. Just like in TV, we can also learn and explore new things with virtual reality. So there are all sorts of programs out there, from science programs to, touring the Anne Frank house. And beyond that, we can pretty much go anywhere, right? Real or imagined. So here are some examples of a beach and a forest. Virtual reality can be a great tool to relax as well. So by virtue of any of these environments, whether you are stimulating your mind through these travel programs or educational programs, or relaxing your mind through one of a scene like this, what really is the key here is the immersive nature of virtual reality. So when you're watching TV, see it, it's flat, you may lose yourself in it for a couple of minutes and kind of, forget about maybe what you've been worrying about that day, sure. But virtual reality, it does something that's, again, just one level above. Because, and I actually have a headset here, when you have this headset on, because all of the visual stimuli that your brain is getting, everything that you see is actually generated by this computer and is totally different from your real environment, your brain begins to think that you are actually in this virtual environment. So let's take an example. So here on the left, we have a beautiful beach in Mallorca, Spain. This is a real VR experience that we offer. So when you sit in this beach, all that you see, you only see the beach. You don't see your room or your office, wherever you physically are. And that incoming stimuli tells your brain that you have left your office, you've left your room, and you are sitting on this beach, in fact. And so what this means, this powerful escape can actually play a role in our day-to-day health. So as I'm sure we can all relate to, we've all felt a little bit trapped in the last few months, or I know I have at least, with quarantine orders and being locked down. It's harder to get out, but even before the pandemic, I heard from my friends at retirement communities that, I just heard it often that they felt trapped. My friend Anne, she said that, it's hard for her to get out. She doesn't drive anymore. She actually just got a wheelchair. So it's difficult to go out and live life and explore and do the things that we used to. And of course, that's just been worsened by COVID. Besides that, here in the middle, we have a picture of someone that appears to be suffering from some pain. Again, this virtual reality escape can provide a bit exactly that, an escape from these uncomfortable feelings. And I can relate this to something in my own life. My granny Glenda mentioned earlier, she suffers from chronic arthritis in her hands, and so she's often wearing braces or special gloves to kind of mitigate that pain. But we've found in my family that putting on the VR headset, if she spends 20 or 30 minutes in the headset, she can actually kind of forget about the pain that she's experiencing. And it's great for when it is really, there's an uptick and it's bothering her. And the best part is, of course, is that instead of relying more on our medication and increasing that, she's able to have this drug-free pain solution. And then on the right, we have someone who's just experiencing boredom. And again, I think we can all relate to this, especially in the last few months. Being bored is just, it's more detrimental to your health than you may realize. And again, I bring it back to my grandmother. One day she told me that, she said, I don't know why I get up so early. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I even should get up, because I know the longer I'm awake, the more time I have to do nothing. And this boredom really gets to her. So these are just a few examples of some challenges that virtual reality can help combat through this immersive escape. And you don't just have to take my word for it either. There are many studies that have come out and that are still in the works, such as the National Institute of Health, the Journal of Gerontology, MIT Age Lab. And they're coming out with studies that show that VR, in fact, can be used as a tool to mitigate pain, to help alleviate mental and emotional issues like anxiety and depression, and overall just provide that escape, that needed source of engagement. So I think we will continue to see this tool appear more and more in all sorts of spaces, but especially in the healthcare arena and senior care space. So we've learned a little bit about what virtual reality is and how it can help us on a daily basis. But it's a lot more accessible than you think. You don't have to be a millionaire to afford it. You don't have to be extremely tech savvy to work it. It is leverageable for you right now today. So I'm going to go through a few different options. These are VR headsets that are available to you right now to be purchased off the shelf. And these three I've identified to be the easiest to integrate into your daily life. They have the lowest barriers, as far as the technical difficulty, the complexity of the different interfaces, and the price, things like that. So these are really the easiest options in more ways than one. So I'll start off with the Google line of products. These are great beginner headsets. I have the Google Cardboard with me here today. I actually gave the Google Daydream to my grandmother. She quite enjoys it. It's a great beginner headset because it's very low cost. And there's a couple of trade-offs though. So while it is low cost and it's very easy, this Google Cardboard is only about $15, maybe $20 online. The Google Daydream, which you see also pictured here, is about $50. While it's very inexpensive, you are losing some of the immersive qualities, of course. So as you can see, this is the Google Cardboard. You actually put your phone inside of here. And it's not too immersive. You can see I can see out of the side. I'm clearly holding it up to my face. It's harder for me to forget that I am trying virtual reality. It's harder to get lost in it and to enjoy those benefits, right? The other takeaway from these two options is that they do require a smartphone. And so they require a smartphone to run on a daily basis. So that it plugs in here, like I said. And that's not the biggest challenge. Many people have smartphones these days, but it does add an extra component to the whole setup. So let's move on to the Oculus Go. And this is the headset that I would actually recommend above all else. Unfortunately, the company that makes it, Oculus, decided to discontinue it last year for reasons that I really can't understand. It's a great user-friendly headset that is very easy to pick up and run with. You don't need a phone to operate it. You don't need a computer. It doesn't have any cords attached to it. It's all in one. It's beautiful. You've got beautiful programs, beautiful pictures inside, but it's not too complicated to understand. It is still possible to purchase this. It's available on eBay for about $100 to $200. So there is a finite supply, but it is really my favorite headset, especially for this population. A couple things to note about this one. So it does have fabric straps. That's something to be mindful of when you're thinking about sanitation. It's a bit harder to clean because of the material. And while you don't need a smartphone to operate it, just when you're using it, you will need a smartphone to set it up. This takes about 10 minutes, and then you'll never need that smartphone again. But it is critical to just getting it out of the box. And then lastly, we have another headset from Oculus. This is the Oculus Quest 2. So they had the Quest out for a while. That's a great headset, and they just came out with this new one. This headset is a little bit more complicated than, say, the Go, which makes it a little bit more challenging for someone who's not really used to technology, well-versed in technology, to plug and play with. but it has very great visuals. The picture inside is very high quality. And there's many different programs that you can download and use on this headset. The trade-offs here are that it is a little bit more expensive and it does have some fabric elements. So again, just something to be aware of when you're thinking about sanitation. It's a slightly heavier headset. And like I mentioned, the complexity can be a challenge. So beyond just, it's made for someone who is more tech savvy. But beyond that, there are several buttons, both on the headset and with the accompanying controllers. The typeface is small. There's just some things that can make it difficult. All in all, I would say that this is a great headset because it is an all-in-one headset as well. So a few things to keep in mind if you do choose to go purchase a headset off the shelf. And if you're thinking about it, what I'd recommend is just heading to your local Best Buy or local electronics store, just speaking with a patient sales rep there. I've done this many, many times. I'm just asking them different questions about different headsets to find the one that's right for you. And often they'll let you try different headsets in store, especially the Oculus Quest, so you can kind of get a feel for it before you buy. Of course, there are some precautions to be aware of during COVID times, but that is, generally my recommendation if you're interested in learning more. So again, some things to keep in mind if you are thinking about purchasing a headset. There are different programs that you can download to all of these headsets. Anything that you might imagine, whether it's those travel experiences we looked at earlier, the relaxation environments, or one of those educational programs. But beyond that, you do have to, not every program out there is a winner. There are some things that may invoke nausea because they're just not high quality. There are some scary things out there like roller coasters and haunted houses, which can be fun, but can also be very upsetting for a brand new VR user. And again, purchasing them off the shelf, they're not really designed with seniors in mind. So those complex interfaces, the small buttons, small typeface, those can all present challenges for our older loved ones in VR. And because of this, there are some companies that have emerged to kind of alleviate some of these issues because we see the power of VR. We know that it presents some great benefits for our loved ones, but there are these challenges in the way that kind of prevent people like my grandmother from just really benefiting from this tool. So these companies have emerged to make these things easier. And I've identified a few here. So just again to touch on the benefits, besides, we have all of for an individual, it's great to escape, to be entertained, to learn, and to just overall experience more of life. But retirement communities are interested in bringing these in because, of course, they want their residents to thrive in their community. They want to improve engagement and quality of life. And again, this is the tool to do so. It can ward off boredom and the social isolation. It can lift the spirits of the community as a whole. So I'm going to cover just a few of the leaders in this space. I don't have time today to go into a deep dive of each of them, but I am happy to continue the conversation if you have specific questions related to you or your community. I'm happy to help you find the best fit for you. So I'll just touch on these. All of these companies, MindVR, Rendeavor, Embodied Labs, and Viva Vita, which is, of course, my company, we bring virtual reality to senior communities directly. With the exception of MindVR, which MindVR does now have an offering available for seniors living at home, all of these other companies offer VR strictly to retirement communities. And what these companies are selling is essentially a number of headsets. And in fact, these companies use a entirely different headset. We use the Pico. This is actually not available to consumers off the shelves, but it is the choice for enterprise because it is very lightweight, it's very comfortable, and most importantly, it's extremely hygienic and easy to clean. So these companies are all offering some variation of a virtual reality kit, which comes with multiple headsets. The headsets typically have content programming loaded on. So at Viva Vita, we specialize in travel programming and relaxation programming. So it's a great tool to both either stimulate your mind or relax your mind. I know Mind VR, they have a few different categories, including a culture, an arts and culture category, and my favorite, the pets category, which is essentially videos of different animals, dogs and cats, and it's really wonderful. Rendeavor has some different travel content. And Embodied Labs is a little bit different in that they still sell the same kit and everything, but it's actually sold for staff training. So whereas Mind VR, Rendeavor, and Viva Vita, we sell VR to improve quality of life for the residents. It's really for the residents to use. Embodied Labs is about training staff through VR, and so their experiences are for the staff to use. And beyond that, these four companies have some variation, well, I should say a good amount of variation in between the different offerings, different price points, and different features that they may have included. So just one more example for you is that something different about Viva Vita, we actually include, in addition to the headsets with the different programs inside, we include a tablet. And this tablet is for caregivers or family members or even other seniors to actually control the experience of the user. So it's essentially kind of like a remote control. And a caregiver or a loved one can just place the headset on their senior, pick up the tablet, choose which piece of content they'd like to see, whether it's a trip to Italy or a trip to Australia. Just tap that and go from there. And so just with the couple minutes that are left, just wanted to again talk about Viva Vita. So we do offer the same virtual reality kit. It includes a number of headsets with the loaded content, that travel and relaxation content and programming, and includes our remote control tablet. We do at this time sell to retirement communities only, but it's a great tool for both a group and individual use, for group activities or for family members coming in to visit, or just for seniors on their own to pick up and play with. Back here you'll see a picture of my friends at Knollwood, the Army Distaff community here in Washington, D.C. We were taking a trip in VR on Oculus. So with all of that said, I think I will turn it over to questions.
Very good. Well, thank you, Carleigh. Really good stuff. A couple questions have come in. Are there any concerns with regards to balance for a senior that's viewing VR?
Yes, for any new VR user, actually, there are, you should be aware of a change in balance or even something like nausea or dizziness coming on. And while this risk is low and this can be rare, what we recommend is that first-time VR users should always experience VR in a seated position, from a sturdy chair, without wheels. And then as you get more used to virtual reality, you may choose to add a spinny chair so you can look all around you. But we typically say just stay seated to kind of alleviate that. And it should, in our experience anyway, the balance issue is not too much of an issue.
What happens if in a year the technology has changed? Is there any concern that maybe the technology will be outdated?
Yeah, so I think that's a concern with any piece of technology, even when it comes to a new TV or a new cell phone, that where technology is always being improved upon and being modified. And so that is a risk you run. But with the headsets that I have mentioned on this talk, um, generally you can count on these for 2 or 3 years. You're going to be able to, even if something better comes out, you can still get great programs on them and still enjoy it, beyond its obsolescence.
Should a senior be worried about any types of scams with regards to using virtual reality?
Yeah, so it is a new environment. It's a new digital environment as well. And we know that when connecting with the World Wide Web, there is a risk of these bad actors out there trying to take our personal information. And so a way to protect yourself against that is once you have your virtual reality headset set up, there's really no need for, most program or many programs, I should say, don't need Wi-Fi or internet connection. You can go ahead and turn your internet connection off, just to further, cut off that risk. And then if you do want to use connect to the internet through your headset, just make sure you're doing so on a secure network that you trust, and you won't run into those bad actors if you do so.
Now, you had mentioned, individuals could go to Best Buy or wherever and they could, do a little bit of test run. Is that something that, you mentioned the 4 companies that are offering VR. Is there a way to test the product before you make this purchase?
That's a very good question. I cannot say this for certain, but I believe that the 3 other companies I mentioned, MindVR, Rendeavor, and Embodied Labs, for their retirement community customers, I imagine that they have some sort of trial or demo period. And that's just an assumption on my part, but I make that assumption because at our company, at Viva Vita, we do offer a trial period for those retirement community customers. And so that would be a chance for you to try it, see how your residents respond, see how much it's being used. Yes, they would have a chance to try that out.
Now, we had talked about scams. Are there any other safety concerns that you can think of, Carleigh, that a senior needs to be thinking about when it comes to virtual reality?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So yes, besides balance, nausea and dizziness can be a risk, especially if you're already prone to these things or prone to vertigo. Putting on a VR headset, it can confuse your senses. So what I recommend, well, first of all, I should say, with Viva Vita, we've put a VR headset on over 450 seniors, and I have seen maybe 5 or 6 people get nauseous and to the point where they wanted to stop. So it is a small risk, but again, to mitigate that, what you can do is just test it out, stay seated, don't move your head around too much to begin with, just put it on, give it a try, and you can always take it off immediately. So if you are one of those people that's prone to dizziness or nausea, that's something to be aware of. And then again, yeah, about staying seated, that is important because you can, with this over your eyes and these pictures you see, you can easily bump into your surroundings. If you're trying to walk around, you could run smack into a wall. You wouldn't even know it's coming. So things like that can, of course, happen. I think those would be the main concerns, Jason.
Okay. Regarding resources, what do you recommend for somebody that's thinking about this outside of watching our webinar and a lot of the amazing work that you do as far as community outreach? Where can people go to learn more about VR?
Sure. Well, I would definitely welcome anyone reach out to me, and I'm happy to assist you in your own journey to bring in virtual reality to your life. But there are many resources out there today, from those reputable sources that I mentioned earlier, and also places like Knowledgeable Aging and Senior Housing News. Many places have published articles on the benefits and the risks posed by virtual reality. So I would encourage everyone to do a search. on their computer, or even ask, your family members, your community members, even people like your local librarian, if they could help you find more resources such as those.
Very good. Well, Carleigh, how can people find you and your company?
Sure. So I welcome everyone to connect with me online. You can reach me by my email address, which is carleighberryman@vivavita.org, or just go to our website, vivavita.org, and it's very easy to contact us that way.
Very good. Well, this has been excellent stuff. Really, really educational. Lots of good information. Do you have a phone number, Carleigh, by chance, for people to reach you?
Yes, I do. My phone number can be found on the screen, but it is 405-694-0969.
Very good. Well, this webinar will be on our YouTube page. So go to YouTube, type in Knowledgeable Aging. I encourage you to subscribe. We're putting out content 2 to 3 times per week. This will also be converted to a podcast. You can find us on Apple Tunes, Spotify. Till next time, I'm your host, Jason Kotar, and this is Knowledgeable Aging.